Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome to the stage Jesse Metcalfe, Dennis Haysbert, and Zach Lipovsky! Woo! They made it! They made it! Are you blessing them? Was that a blessing? You're just blessing? Thank you, children. Thank you, children.
I always like to bless the crowd.
You'd be amazed how many people coming here were like, Mr. President!
I've just been talking about my car insurance. That's why it's all day. It's the weirdest thing.
It all works.
It all works. Who's got a question? This is how it works, guys. It's burning questions. If you have a question, right over there. There you go.
Hi, Dennis. I'm a big fan, and I love 24.
Bless you.
And I was just wondering if you'd have a great story to tell about maybe on the set or about John Cassar.
John Cassar, do you know John?
I do know John.
Oh, now John is he was one of the showrunners of 24, and he was also one of our, best and greatest directors. Have a story about John other than he was just amazing to work with. There really were no stories per se.
He did talk about the very first scene he shot was you on the boat in the lake.
Oh my God! Okay. Well, see, that takes me back, because there's so many things.
Would you like to tell the story? Apparently, you know the story very well.
Well, the only thing I remember about being out in the dock on the lake is they had the camera set up, and they wanted me to cast the, my fishing pole, my fishing line, towards the camera, and it fell right in front of the camera. So it was like perfect. It was like one take. I said, "Oh, let's go." Next. No, but that was beautiful. Yes, I have nothing but fond memories of 24, except on that 5th season, first episode.
We got a question right down in front. Can we get her a microphone, please? Oh, we got a volunteer running down. Oh, that's so generous.
For each of you, I'd like you to talk about Dead Rising and like your best experience and what you're most excited about the film.
Okay, I'll take that. Dead Rising Watchtower was a joy to make. I mean, it was just, it was like a little boy's dream every single day on set with all of the action sequences and the stunts, and obviously, with Zach at the helm, he really created an environment where we all got to play and have a good time. A very, very collaborative set. I wasn't that familiar with the game when this opportunity came about. I auditioned just like anyone else would have, and they saw fit to give me the role. And then I went out and I bought the games. I bought Dead Rising 1, 2, and 3, and Dead Rising Off the Record. I tried to log in as much gameplay as I possibly could. I definitely deferred to Zach and also another one of our producers, Tomas Harlan, who are both really aficionados in the game. It was a labor of love. Obviously a live action version of a very popular video game, but also a zombie movie. And I've been a huge fan of the genre for a really long time, really as long as I can remember. So, it was a great opportunity for me.
For me, playing General Lyons was a real trip, in that I was able to play a villain who wasn't necessarily, he shows up as a villain, but he's actually just doing his job. But blowing up zombies was real fun. Being able to have your finger on the button, and I just wish I was able to get out and shoot a few myself.
Next time.
Next time, good.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. And but again, it's just like Jesse says. It was like playtime. And when you're working in this business, if it's not fun, what's the use? So, it was a really great time.
We got to eat.
Well,
I got bills.
but there's a lot of jobs you can do, man, that that you can eat. But to be able to make money and play like this and be paid for it is just outstanding.
For me, it was very special. It was film where I was really allowed to make it my own. I come from much more of an independent sensibility, just making tiny movies with my friends, and suddenly I'm here with these two guys blowing up zombies with hundreds and hundreds of zombies at my disposal to destroy. But my favorite part was probably, which is kind of, it was more the challenge of it, was I had done smaller films, but I'd never done a film where you needed to shoot the whole finale of the film, which takes place on this huge street. And it was so big that we had to film it over 2 nights, from the sun going down, and we wrap when the sun comes up, go to sleep, come back, and shoot it again. And it's just one scene. And I'd never shot a scene over multiple days before, because I mean, lots of movies do that. I just never been on a film that was big enough to do that. And trying to, in my head, figure out all the action from one end of the street to the other, because you shoot it in chunks. So you shoot everything that happens here, but in the film it's all intercut because it's all happening at once. And so for me, I was terrified. I didn't tell anyone I was terrified, but I was like, okay. I remember when we were walking the crew through it the week before, and I started at one end of the street, and I'm like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then 100 zombies come around here, and then they hide here, and then all the soldiers start shooting, and then they pull out weapons, and they all start trying to kill each other behind this car, and everyone's kind of looking at me like, how are we gonna do this? And then my favorite part was those 2 nights actually kind of doing my work, making sure to plan everything, and then doing every piece by itself, thinking, okay, I think we have all of the complexity of this. And then in the edit, thank God my editor somehow made it all work. But the challenge of kind of doing a huge action scene like that, the kind that I've always watched and loved seeing in giant movies, and they, like the scene in Indiana Jones with the flying wing when they're trying to get the arc on it. Like he shot that in 4 days. And I was kind of like, wow, it's such a great scene, but trying to figure out to make a scene in 4 days, and that was my kind of first attempt at doing it, and it was really fun.
Yeah, right here.
Hello, my question is for Jesse. Jesse, you've had quite a diverse acting career, from Passions to Dallas and to now this. Is there an area of acting or entertainment that you're still, or a type of role you're still hoping to come into or try, or?
I never think about my career or kind of my journey in this industry in those terms. I think you get asked that question a lot, like what's your dream role, or what role would you like to play that you haven't had the opportunity to play yet? And it's always a very difficult question to answer, because just certain opportunities kind of present themselves over the course of a career. And bringing it back to this project, I mean, this was definitely a genre that I wanted to be a part of. So I was very thankful for this opportunity, and really proud of the finished product, that we put something out there that I think's really cool, really fun. Honestly, I just go with the flow. Occasionally, more than occasionally, I'll turn down an audition or an offer or something because it's just something that I'm just not interested in, or maybe it's more the same, something that I've already done. And I always like to do something that's different, and it's nice to hear someone like yourself say that I've had a diverse career, because, that's at the end of the day, that's what I want more than anything, to have a diverse career.
But Jesse was super dedicated. I remember when you came to being the action lead of this thing, like there was so many times where he would jump in and be like, I'm doing the stunt, and like throw his body into the ground and completely destroy himself, and then do it every day over and over again, like throwing him. You really wanted the action to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach's right. I was covered head to toe in like scrapes, bumps, and bruises at the end of every day of this shoot. And at the end of every day, I literally collapsed into bed. It was really physically demanding, but I think the commitment shows. We were just actually talking about, my stunt double on the movie earlier, and how, he'd be like, getting up out of his chair to like, get in there, and I'd be like, hang on a second, buddy. I got this.
See, the professional knew how to fall but not hurt himself, whereas Jesse would just be like, ah! And it would look great, but it would be like, oh, God. I remember, too, when they were doing the, there's a scene with a killer clown, and he's got, just the nastiest of stuff coming out of his mouth. And he's like leaning over Jesse, and it's all dripping onto Jesse's face. And I'm like, you wanted this role, man. I was like, you wanted to be in the situation where this giant killer clown is spewing nastiness into your mouth. But
I can't get rid of that clown either. He's still stalking me on social media. The actor that played the clown.
He's a professional.
He's not just a psycho clown in the movie. He's a little bit of a psycho clown in real life.
He's watching right now, Jesse.
Hey, Ernest. How you doing, buddy? Talk later.
You guys want to pick? You want to pick your next questioner?
Sure, how about the guy all the way in the back? Yep.
So this film being put out by Legendary and then being released on Crackle is a very different kind of delivery vehicle, putting it out in a web-first format and broken up in that way. Can you talk about the experience of making a film that is a full feature film, shot and created that way, but done for digital distribution, and how that affected both you guys, choosing the role, maybe having a new opportunity, and what challenges that created?
Yeah, it was actually quite liberating, which is what I was surprised by. There was many more liberties than there were challenges because of it. A whole bunch of some just from, it's online, so there isn't necessarily ratings that you have to worry about. Like, we had all the gore and swear words and stuff that Dead Rising deserves, and at no point was it like, oh, but it has to be within, it was like, it's on the internet. It's like, it doesn't matter what you do. It was like, okay. And then same with running time, just like all your favorite shows that are streamed, like, they don't have to be exactly 22 minutes. It was like, okay, well, let's just do what's right, for each part of the film. And then beyond that, it was just the demo of people who love this game are also online. And being able to have it be on Xbox exclusive right there next, the game was an Xbox exclusive, and now you can watch the film right next to it. And just the fact that because of Crackle's free, anyone can watch the film. And so that was really cool. It was like, as soon as it's out there, you don't even have to have the $8.99 to be on Netflix. It's just like, go watch the film. And tons of people did, which was great. And now they're making a sequel because of how much the response was. And a lot of that was just because of it being online. We didn't have to make it for a mass audience. We didn't have to make it for 3,000 screens. We could make it for the fans of the game and really make it true to that, because once you do it for that smaller piece and you put it on that platform, you could just make it exactly for those people. And obviously other people will find it too, but it was great to just make it the way we wanted to, mostly because of it being online. So that was a huge help.
That about covers it. You in the middle. Yes, you.
Hello. Hi, Dennis. Hi, guys. Congratulations on your project. Let's go back to the unit. Good memories.
Very good memories.
Good memories. So my first question, it's two-part. Do you have a favorite scene, moment in the unit or storyline? And do you remember all your call signals? Snake Doctor.
Oh, call signs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like Cool Breeze, Betty Blue, Dirt Diver, Hammerhead, Snake Doctor. Yes, I remember all those.
Those all sound like euphemisms for like really dirty things. Oh yeah, I did this Snake Doctor last night. Oh, the old blue eyes. Yep.
Favorite scenes? Wow, there's 4 seasons of. One of my favorite scenes. Oh God, I think it was in the first season, and the team was in Africa, and we were looking for a satellite, and we stumbled across this terrorist that's working with these Africans. And we finally capture him, and we bring him onto the plane, and we have this discussion because all my guys are exhausted and pouring water over their heads. And we shot this in Santa Clarita, which is on the same, I think, latitude, longitude line of Iraq. So it was 115 degrees, 120 degrees. And I love that scene between me and this other actor. I can't think of his name at the moment. And we come to a silent understanding, and I go up to the front of the plane, and he falls out of the plane and kills himself, because I know if I get him back, he's going to get tortured. And I just sort of made my call and said, I'll let the guy take himself out. So that was one of my favorites.
My question is for Dennis. I know 24 is a while ago, but do you have a favorite episode or a favorite scene? Another actor which would you?
My favorite episode in 24 was the 25th Amendment episode, when I was about to be impeached. I mean, not impeached, but I guess it was impeached. Yeah, they were going to take me out of office, and I'm talking to my cabinet, and I'm asking them, I said, what did I do? Do I look unstable? And I had this great speech, that the writers wrote for me. And that's another thing. I'll tell you this about 24. I never changed a line. In the 4 seasons that I was on that, we had such a symbiotic relationship. I never changed a line. And that's good writing, and that's, the producers and the writers knowing the actor that they had. So I said that was really great.
Yeah, how about, right here.
Hi, how are you guys? Normally when people hear, hey, we're gonna make a movie from a video game, everybody groans, because minus a few notable successes, a lot of times they bomb. Did you guys have any discussions before making the movie to talk about, hey, how we're gonna approach this so we don't have the same experience?
We're all very much aware of many terrible video game movies. I think the real exception here, and a lot of people have said it's one of the greatest adaptations of a video game, maybe to a fault. It's just so much for the fans, and maybe not anyone else. But we're all real gamers ourselves, and I think a lot of the bad video game adaptations were maybe just someone grabbing an IP and not really understanding what made it what it was, and then just making it without any of the cooperation of the fan base or the people that made it and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Dead Rising's made in Vancouver, where I'm from, by Capcom. And the writer and producer, Tim, is from Vancouver as well and knows all the guys at Capcom. And Capcom was down the street from our production office. And we were not only fans, like we had the game in the production office, so every member of the crew could play it. And we had a big whiteboard where you could write down anything from the game that you thought would be cool in the movie. But the Capcom guys would come by. We even had, in one of the big scenes, where Jesse, the big oneer, where Jesse's going through the whole city with his sledge saw, a lot of those people are the people who make Dead Rising. Like, Capcom had them come out, paid for the day for them to come and be zombies for the day. And so I think a lot of it just comes from being true to what makes that property great, being a fan of it yourself, and celebrating that, rather than trying to just grab the pieces of it that people might know and then trying to sell that to everybody. I think it just comes from now, finally, maybe to a certain degree, the people who grew up with video games are now making the video game movies. And so in the same way that people who grew up with comics are now making the comic movies, it's coming from that second generation, rather than maybe the people who were just trying to grab stuff while it was hot. So, I mean, it comes with, every film can be good or bad. There's a million different decisions that go into it, but I think a lot of it has to do with the people that are making it and for what reasons.
Are you trying to say that the Super Mario Brothers movie starring Bob Hoskins was not a great movie?
I don't know if
the
they
Street
flew
Fighter
everyone
movie?
from Japan over to be in that movie. I don't know.
What is the best worst video game ported movie in your opinion?
Yeah, good.
What was that? I thought somebody was like you were very adamant about it. More. Now it's opened up. Now it's like, oh, he's asking us? Oh, great. Street Fighter was kind of hard, wasn't it? That was a hard one. That was hard. Zach, what about you? I mean, as a gamer, what like just broke your heart?
Oh, I'm trying to think. See, my heart's full of all the movies that I want to make, not all the ones that I hate.
Well, you're a positive person.
Yeah, no, none's coming to mind. I mean, I think of, it's just, they're always just kind of different. But it's hard. A lot of video games don't even have a main character that has a lot of traits sometimes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You're supposed to put yourself into the main character. So adapting that into a film is not always great. So what we did with our film, and these two guys are good examples of it, is the cool thing about Dead Rising is it's a different city every time, and there are characters that go through. But each city is a new setting with new characters, a new plot, so we were able to make our own outbreak in between two of the other outbreaks. And I think that's really unique about the film is our film takes place within the canon of the storyline. So there's 3 Dead Rising games, and ours takes place between Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 3 and tells the story of how we got between those 2 games. And so we created 2 characters to be within that world that are new, so we could make them perfect for the film and give them character arcs and really develop them perfectly as a film so that their story can be told in 2 hours. Because a lot of games are, 80 hours. So, and then have people like Rob Riggle playing the iconic characters that people know from the franchise. That didn't answer your question. So
No, it didn't. No,
very
it
good
did not.
kind of
but actually,
sidestep.
but it does bring me to another point because to take the more positive slant on it of the movies that you do have in your head or that you would want to make, what is a video game that you would like to make into a movie?
There's quite a few. I think Fallout is a huge one for me. I remember playing the first Fallout and just loving that. I don't know, it was one of the first kind of RPGs I loved a lot.
Do it.
Another one I'd love to resurrect, I don't know where it's at, is Homeworld. It's like an old RTS that was just the most cinematic, beautiful space strategy game. It was like one of the first RTSs that used the 3rd dimension. So like every other game, space is flat like it is in Star Trek. But this game, you could just like attack from above or below. Or like it was like such a great and so cinematic. You could go down to the tiniest little ship or up to the hugest mothership. And I would just play that game over and over and over again, looking for cool new angles and just because it was so cinematic. So I'd love to do either of those.
Dennis, Jesse, do you guys game at all? Or do you game specifically when you're like doing a movie and you wanted to kind of research that world?
Well, that's mandatory. But in adulthood, no. I mean, I don't really game. But I mean, as a adolescent, as a teenager, I mean, that was kind of how we established the hierarchy amongst our group of friends. Who was the best at video games? And I was typically the worst. I'm not gonna lie. But there's a lot of amazing games out there. I mean, there really are. And the producers of our film, which kind of piggybacks on the last question a little bit, contradiction. It kind of adds something to the story of, making live action movies based on video games, is that, they really work tirelessly to kind of forge these relationships with these video game companies again, which I think video game companies generally really just turn their backs on Hollywood because there was such a string of movies that hurt these brands, which are already $100 million and up franchises. So why would they want to really do business with Hollywood anymore? So it really took, excuse me, Tomas and Tim's dedication and knowledge of the game, specifically Dead Rising, to sort of finesse these relationships and give Capcom confidence that they were going to add value to their franchise. So I don't know where I was going with that.
No, that's solid. No, that's a really solid point. I mean, you're right. Video games, as a medium, they make tons of money.
That's right. This is where I was going with it.
Well, we don't think of it often, but the video game industry is 10 times the size of the film industry as far as how much money it makes. So, like, why give their properties away if they're, when they're 10 times the size of the film industry? I think in the film industry, we're often used to being the big dogs that are like, give me your property, kid. And they're like, yes, sir. But it doesn't really work that way. You really have to
Have you been working in the 1920s recently?
Yeah.
Give me your property, kid. Gonna be a star.
I wish it worked that way.
I'm becoming a bigger gamer, but it's a matter of time.
Sure.
But I'm starting to make time for it. So just before I turn in, I'll throw in Dead Rising, and try to pick up a weapon. And,
Can't even pick up a weapon yet.
Baby steps,
baby
Jesse,
steps,
baby
baby.
steps.
And you want
then
me to
once
let
I
you
do,
kill
trying
zombies
to
in the
navigate
sequel?
out of the room that I'm in, But but it's very interesting. You can end up losing days. I mean,
Years, Dennis.
I mean,
Years.
really.
Not losing,
Well,
enjoying.
there's a really major expanse of what I do in a day, and then just to sort of hone it into playing a game is great. But I gotta go out and make the bacon and sell donuts. But I do love it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to play a lot more, and I like the shooter games a lot.
I like shooting people too.
Yeah.
In video games. Video games. Another question? Right back there. I think your hand was up first. I mean, if it's a competition, which it's not.
Hey, this is for Dennis and Jesse. People have mentioned your different roles. Is there a role that you've played that you hope you're remembered for, or have you maybe not played that role yet?
God, in all modesty, I'm remembered for a lot of roles, and a lot of roles. And forgive me for saying it, that I believe are iconic. President Palmer is. Jonas Blaine of the unit, Pedro Serrano from Major League.
Shit, yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
It's just, I love what I do, and I love the opportunities I've had. So I wish to just continue in that vein.
I just like to be, remembered at all. So, I think it's really cool if someone enjoyed a TV show or a film that I was a part of. But as far as roles I want to be remembered for, I don't necessarily think I've gotten there yet. But I'm still young, so hopefully that career-defining role is out there for me. Maybe Dead Rising. if they put my character in the next video game.
I'm sure they will, at least as a downloadable content. They go, oh shit, we should have done that.
Next question.
Yeah, in the back.
What's your favorite weapon in the video game or movie?
Who's that directed to? Jesse?
Everybody.
Did you have a weapon?
Favorite weapon.
I didn't have a weapon. I had a button in my finger. Actually, I had an aide who had a button in a finger. But if I was out in the world, I would like something very sharp and very bludgeoned. I would like a hammer.
But then you'd like the spike bat.
And a spike, and if I could have unlimited bullets.
I think your weapon's your voice. I think you just talk to the
Die!
zombies.
Okay. Yeah, that would work.
There is in the video game. There is a weapon that is a loudspeaker. It's got you soup up this loudspeaker and do a honk, and every zombie turns into mush in front of you. So I give you that one. I think my favorite. The sledge saw, which is in the film, is from the game, which is I think the most iconic. But I think one of my favorites, because I came up with it, it's really hard to come up with a combo. The game's known for these combo weapons where you combine weapons together with duct tape. And I remember begging the creators of the game, tell me all the awesome ones you didn't put in the game that we can put in the movie. And they're like, dude, every good idea we have is in that game. Coming up with a combo weapon is the hardest thing in the world to do. So we went to the hardware store and are walking up and down the aisles looking at all of the terrible things in a hardware store that you could tape together to kill people with. And especially the gardening aisle has really terrible we're all lucky we are not dirt and grass. But I think my favorite, just because I'm a huge Kurosawa and kind of Japanese fan in general was the katana shovel, which is a katana on one end, duct taped to a shovel on the other, with a saw blade as the scabbard. You know, not that katanas have scabbards, but that just kind of came to me, and I was like, that's so awesome, because it's totally difficult to wield, because a katana is all based on balance, and you've got this shovel.
Completely unwieldable.
But it looks awesome. It's like you can
being in the-
bludgeon someone to death, dig their grave, and then slice someone in half, and then
we spent a good 45 minutes with Megan Ori, who played Crystal, trying to figure out how she should just hold it and look cool. She didn't even know how to hold it.
Well, with a katana, you usually it's natural. You're like, oh, I could do this. You can look cool. But when there's a shovel on the end, it's really hard to look cool, which we discovered on set. And so she went for the kind of backwards, basically shovel pointing out and blade pointing up, like this. And just cool.
Nice, Zach.
That's how we figured it out.
Yeah, the funny thing about a lot of these weapons is that they were not, what we built for the movie, although it looked good, was not that functional. They were pretty tough to wield. For instance, the sledge saw, the saw end was a real skill saw, and the sledgehammer, because obviously I wasn't going to be wielding like a 40-pound sledgehammer, and I couldn't be hitting stump people with a 40-pound sledgehammer. I had a styrofoam sledgehammer. So needless to say, the balance of that weapon was terrible, and it was just destroying me. It was like messing up my hand. It was impossible to swing. I would go to swing the sledgehammer, and there was no weight to it, and I'd have to follow through with my whole body to really sell it. And it was on that big oneer too, which was 7 minutes long, so it was an exhausting sequence. But actually, another crazy anecdote, speaking of wielding the sledge saw, was one of our stunt people actually took a golf club straight to the mouth on that sequence. She was a really tough young girl, actually, and I basically slice her with the sledge saw, and then I'm supposed to trip her with the sledgehammer. And when I trip her, she literally does a backflip in the air, and as I turned, I had the golf bag on my back with a 5-iron sticking out of it that hit her directly in the mouth, took her out. We continued on with the take, and I came back to her, and she was still on the ground, and I was like, okay, hey, they said cut, and she was literally laying in a pool of blood. And one of the toughest stunt people I've ever met, because she literally put a towel and some ice on her mouth for about 15 minutes and was right back in there.
Yeah, well, we did that. I think we still did, because that was part of our big one take, so we had to get it all in one take. We did it another 12 times, I think. The other crazy thing is there was a GoPro on her shoe, looking right up at her, because we were hiding GoPros everywhere for the whole shoot. And we looked at the footage afterwards, and there's literally blood dripping straight onto the GoPro. Because it's exactly below her. And it was if it wasn't inside the oneer, because of course putting that one shot in the middle of it would make it look like we did an edit. Wouldn't be good, but it's a cool shot. It's just you never seen blood drip right onto the lens from someone's mouth by accident. Yeah. All right, next question. All right. In the back corner there.
What's this one scene that you edited out that you wish you would actually put in?
There was actually no scenes we edited it out. There was just there's probably years worth of Rob Riggle stuff that we just couldn't put in there, because it was we shot with him for, I think it was 6 or 7 hours of just continuous hilarity and improv and just let them going, and there was just so much stuff that was hilarious, but at a certain point it's slowing down the film. You can't put in every joke, but there was I just remember there's this one line, which isn't necessarily entirely PC, but he was he was talking to Susan, who's the newscaster, and he's asking about do you have a husband? And she's like, oh yeah, he's still alive. He's like, are you sure? Like, yeah. Well, he might be dead. And she's like, well, I'm not into that. And he goes, well, I don't know. There's 1 or 2 zombies I wouldn't mind taking a closer look at, if you know what I mean. And just sits back, and we were so dying to put that in the film, but it just didn't work. I think on the DVD they're putting all the extra stuff that Rob Riggle did, because there was just hours of great stuff. There's one scene we did cut from the film, which was cut It was actually one of the characters at the end of the film was shown dying. And everyone who was, when we were editing it, just showing it to my friends, they're like, oh, why does that character die? That's so dumb. And we had never really considered taking it, not having her die, so we just took that whole scene out, and the whole end of the film worked way, way better. And now with the sequel, she can actually have, something to do. And I remember the whole time on set, she wouldn't even let me film her actual death. She was like, you can film up to the moment where the zombies are coming, but I am not letting you film the actual death. Like, the beginning of the sequel is me getting out of this situation. And we literally, she would just, stop acting. As soon as the zombies got close, she's like, nope, I'm not letting you do it. She's like, I'm coming back. And then, in the end, she was right. We just pulled the whole scene. And so now, she'll be in the rest of the franchise.
That's a great way to ensure more work. Should just do that more often. Sorry, not gonna show that. Yeah, right down here.
I have a question for each of you as actors, and obviously you're not, but how do you learn?
I was.
You're so authentic.
Sorry.
How do you learn to depersonalize when you have scenes that you poured your heart into and then they're just cut out, like all the editing? Like, how do you not take that personally?
As an actor, you've learned to depersonalize a long time ago. Yeah, if you worried about every scene that got cut out of a movie, I mean, you'd be miserable. That's the least of your concerns. That's my 2 cents.
You can't take it personally, and you just have to trust that the producers and the director, know what they want, and be good with that, until you get the reins and you're directing yourself, because it's really hard. I directed one episode of The Unit. And I turned in my cut. I took that more personally, that they changed my cut than actually, cutting something out. But as an actor, no. I just do every scene, the best that I know how, and let the chips fall where they may.
A lot of the time, I'd say the vast majority of the time, scenes aren't cut because the scene wasn't good. The vast majority of the time, you're cutting it either for timing, because the film's just dragging and that scene doesn't necessarily forward the plot. The film still makes sense if that scene isn't there, so that's the one you have to take out. Often those are the best scenes because it's just the characters being themselves, and so you want to leave that in, but it's just slowing it down too much. Or sometimes, like in the other, you're showing too much about a part of the plot that it's actually better if the audience doesn't know that, because then they're wondering later on. So a lot of the time it's actually structural things, not performance, because it's a really weird thing in the film industry, because you write a script, but that's not a movie. Like, you can read a script all day long, but you don't really know what the experience of watching this film is. And then you start showing it to people to kind of learn. And you realize right away, oh, we don't need this, we don't need this. Like, people figured this out 10 minutes ago, so why are we explaining it to them? We got to take that out. And so that's usually why stuff gets cut, not because it's terrible.
Did you want me to answer that too? This is their panel. I don't want to be taking their time. The only thing I would say is I get frustrated mainly because I'm like, well, I'll go like, well, we just shot a day. What we could have been done. Well, we could have gone to Raging Waters. Why were we shooting that day? I get frustrated because I think to myself, like, why couldn't we have figured out that we didn't need that before we spent thousands of dollars and 12 to 16 hours of that day, or multiple days or whatever, and putting it all on a screen and then going, oh, you know what? Yeah, we didn't need that scene. That can get frustrating. Like Zach was saying, though, there's a creative process in visual filmmaking or in visual storytelling where sometimes it's very difficult to tell. And that's where that balance becomes. Like Dennis, I directed some episodes of Chuck, and that was very difficult sometimes because you're killing your loved ones. You have to look at scenes that I wasn't even in, but I'm looking at other scenes going, oh man, I really wish I could have kept that in or not. And then from an acting standpoint, it can be frustrating also because you build your whole character arc. So you're reading a script and you go, okay, so this is where I start, and then I go here, and then I go here, and then I go here, and then I go here. And the only reason I ended up here is because of those 4 other spots in between. But if you cut one of them out, then people might be watching the movie and go, so he was like super calm here, and then in the last scene, he's super aggro. What happened? Why did he all of a sudden just jump to being crazy? And that can be, frustrating. Does that, do you guys ever experience that?
Yes and no. If the script is written in such a way that they would omit something essential like that, then there's a major problem with the production staff.
Yeah.
But if you can get around it, so that's why they test films. They'll test them with an audience like you, and then you have this little meter in front of you, and you turn it up when you like it, and you turn it down when you don't. Or if it makes sense, you turn it up. If it doesn't make sense to you, you turn it down. And then they get all that data, and they go back to the editing room, and they figure it out. And the reason why they shoot as much as they do, because I shot a lot of stuff when I directed, and I say it because if I don't shoot it now, I won't be able to come back and shoot it, knowing that some of my babies are going to die. Some of the things that I shot are going to die on the floor. But you have to shoot them in order to make sure, you got everything, and from all different angles. So, you bleed a little bit when you have to let something go. But let something go, you must.
Well, I just think it's super strange as the director or the part of the creative team with the writers and producers, because we know everything about this project more than anyone would ever know, yet we're in charge of creating something for people that know nothing about it. And we can never be in that frame of mind. Like, we're the furthest people on the planet from that frame of mind, yet we are in charge of creating it. And so you think all this stuff is really important, and then you show it to people and they're like, no, that's stupid, we don't need this. You're like, I totally got that, or this opening, beautiful wide shot is really boring, you need to get rid of that, even though it took you 3 hours to get it. Like, the audience is coming at it completely fresh. And you're not, yet you're in charge of doing that. It's a really difficult job. So getting as much perspective from people as possible is pretty important.
Oh, we got time for 1, maybe 2 more questions if we're quick. Right here?
Hi, I just want to thank you for being you.
What? Well, thank you.
Me too. Me too, Zach.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I think you know that.
Well, if you know it, I don't know how amazing you are. Yeah, never mind. That's
Anyway,
very bad.
my question's for Jesse. Every time I
Wait a minute, I'm amazing, but he gets the question? I see how it is. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Every time I see you in any show or movie, I always think of that scene from John Tucker, and I think you know it. Yeah, the lacy
I think we should
underwear.
discuss it in detail.
I just wanted to know, is that your most embarrassing scene? Were you embarrassed? And
Yeah, probably. We're talking about like 50 extras and like a 30-person crew in like a red lace thong. I'll have you know that thong was modified, by the way, to, house, So guys, don't try that with a regular thong. You know what I'm saying, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I just love that you use the word house. To house. As if it was a little home that it lived in. Good Lord.
So thank you for embarrassing me all over again. I appreciate it.
We get another question? In the back, we'll go there, and then I think we'll have time for you right after that.
So we have all the guys from Dead Rising here, but the cast includes a number of excellent female actresses. Can you talk to us about your experience working with Virginia and Megan and the rest of the talented women of Dead Rising?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because all the women are kind of in charge of the whole plot. And they're the ones kicking the ass, and all the men are kind of following them around, which we kind of loved. But Virginia was great. She's known as being an Academy nominated actress and really dramatic in lots of indie films, but she has a son who loves zombies, and she's like, I never get to kill anything, and she was having the time of her life, running around with. She had the broom machete, so a broom with a machete on the end. So she was having a good time. And Megan Ori, you know, she was great. She had the katana shovel, which doesn't have a great hyphenated name, unfortunately. But both of them just loved being characters that were very assertive, had their own, didn't have to kind of follow the men to do certain things. We just tried to give them their own life. Virginia's character is quite twisted in that it was really difficult to get her character right because you see her daughter die at the very beginning of the film, and then for the rest of the film, she's behaving as if her daughter's alive. And so getting that to track and not confuse the audience, but instead be really interesting, and then she has this great finale that kind of concludes it, was really difficult for her and us in the edit. And there's many lines, very subtle lines that we changed in the edit just to kind of help make that clear. But yeah, both of them just had the time of their lives. It's hard. The thing with making a zombie movie is everyone loves making a zombie movie. My Facebook feed was just full of every person I know being like, I will be a zombie. Just tell me where to show up. And most of the zombies that we had were just people that loved, some just came as zombies to set. They didn't even have to go through the makeup. Just like get another car as a zombie. Yeah, there was one guy, he's in the film, and even some of the press has him because he was like full zombie. Like he never broke zombie. Like he's professional zombie. That's all he does. Like we would.
He's the Daniel Day-Lewis of zombies.
He was. We had a shot where all the zombies are kind of zombieing towards the front of the camera. He was right in the foreground because he had one glassed over eye, and his mouth somehow hung like really low, and he was walking, and it was only one camera filming all of them, and he's right in the foreground, and then he walks past the camera, and when you walk past the camera, you're no longer in the film. And he just kept going. And we kept shooting because we had all the other extras going, and he just kept walking down the street, and everyone else stopped, and he was just like walking off into the distance, like getting lost as a zombie, and then we had to like, excuse me, Mr. Zombie, please, would you come back over here? And he'd just like walk over. It was pretty intense. There's some method zombies out there.
We can get to this gentleman's question right here. Yeah.
This is for Zach. Did you get approached to make the movie, or did you go out of your way to, this was your own brainchild? And were there any crazy obstacles that you had to overcome because you were just putting it on the internet and compared to in the theaters?
Sure. Yeah, it was quite a fast process. I'm from Vancouver, which is where they were shooting the film, so I was lucky enough to be able to kind of go into Legendary in the big, scary, giant boardroom and be like, listen up, I'm the man for this job. This is how we're doing it. And luckily, they agreed with me and sent me home to go shoot the film. And as far as the obstacles, it was, there wasn't, like I said, there wasn't that many obstacles as far as it being a digital project. If anything, that helped. And luckily, I think one of the obstacles we thought at the beginning was maybe there weren't going to be enough really awesome, talented actors that wanted to be in something just because it's digital. But luckily, with how everything's been changing recently, we got some awesome actors, and everyone came out, and we were able to make the best movie we wanted to make, rather than something that just felt like a web series that was maybe cheaper. Or luckily, with Crackle and Legendary and Dead Rising and all of that came together to kind of get the awesome cast. And so from that point, I had to make sure that they had a good movie to be in. And I think it turned out pretty good.
I think so.
Yeah, and so you can check it out. It's on crackle.com for free right now. You could stream it on your phone in the panel right now and watch it.
And we all know you're multitaskers, so we could totally do that. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Jesse and Dennis and Zach. Applaud them off the stage. Dude, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Give them a warm Nerd HQ send-off.